7 months ago, I was renting an old house with my friend Jessa. What happened in that place still creeps me out. I'm not a superstitious person, and I've never posted anything like this before, but I can't stop thinking about it. This is still the hardest story I've ever told because it really happened. I woke up because someone was breathing in my room. Not the building settling, not pipes, not my own breath echoing. This was different. Wet, heavy, uneven, like an animal with a chest infection. For a second, I thought I was still dreaming, until the smell hit me. Sweat, dirt, metal, like a wet coin pressed against skin. The dark didn't feel empty anymore. It felt crowded. I lay perfectly still, eyes open just enough to see through my lashes. My nightlight threw a weak, amber glow against the far wall, enough to make out my dresser, my bag on the floor, and something else. A shape at the end of my bed, not slumped or shapeless like laundry, upright, still, facing me. It didn't move, but I could feel it, the weight of it, the way the room's air shifted, warmer where it shouldn't be. My pulse was so loud in my ears I was sure it could hear it. I swallowed, slow and quiet, and the sound felt like a gunshot in the silence. I could move. I tested my fingers against the sheet, but something deep inside me whispered, "Don't. Not yet. Don't let it know you're awake." The breathing got louder, closer. Like whoever it was had leaned forward. My phone was on the nightstand, a foot away. If I reached for it, I'd have to break the stillness. I didn't want to. Every instinct in my body told me that if I moved, it would too. I shifted my eyes up without moving my head. It was right there, inches from the edge of my bed now. I grabbed my phone and flicked on the screen in one motion, light flooding the room. Gone. Just me. Just shadows. But the smell was still there. The air still felt warm. And at the foot of my bed, the blanket was pushed down, like someone had just been standing there. I sat up, shaking, phone clutched like a weapon. I didn't close my eyes again until sunrise. I kept telling myself the first time was just a dream. Stress, sleep paralysis, whatever. But a week later, it happened again, and this time I was awake. I remember every sound from that room like it's burned into me. It was exactly a week after the first time. Same hour, same heavy air. Only this time, I wasn't drifting between sleep and awake. I was staring at my phone, scrolling, trying to tire myself out. Then I heard it, breathing, not mine. It was wet, hungry sounding, like lungs dragging through water. I didn't even move at first. My whole body locked up. The glow from my screen caught just enough to show the shape at the end of my bed. The same broad back, hunched forward, elbows on knees. Except now he was closer, like he belonged there. And this time I could hear whispering under the breath, too low to understand, like a tape played backward. When you see someone where they shouldn't be, your brain breaks for a second. I remember thinking, this isn't happening. Then my body caught up and said, no, this is happening right now. I tried to clear my throat, but it came out as a dry click. My phone slipped in my hand and the screen dimmed. The breathing stopped. Dead stop. I thought about the door. Locked. I thought about screaming. What if the whispering got louder? Slowly, I tapped my phone's flashlight icon. The white beam snapped across the room like lightning. Nothing. Nobody. But the bedspread dipped where he'd been sitting. Two deep impressions like knees had been pressed into the mattress. My blanket was damp where his hand must have rested. I knew then I wasn't dreaming. He was real. He'd been sitting there, whispering, breathing me in. I spent the rest of the night with my back against the wall, phone light on, staring at that dent until the sun came up. I think that was the moment I stopped feeling safe in my own home. The third night? That's the one I don't like talking about. because that's when he stopped pretending to be a shadow. I'd been trying to stay awake every night since the second time. Coffee, loud music, anything. But exhaustion wins. You drift, even when you swear you won't. It was a Tuesday, 3:17 a.m. again. I woke up to the sound of my closet door sliding open. Slow, deliberate, plastic wheels on wood. I live alone. There's no draft strong enough to do that. There's no reason it should have moved, but I heard it anyway. The breathing started up again, louder now. The smell was stronger too, that metallic, damp smell, like pennies in a wet rag. I opened my eyes just a crack. He was half out of the closet this time, crouched low, one hand on the floor, one on the doorframe. His head was tilted like an animal, watching if I'd move. He wasn't a blur anymore. He was a man, pale skin, dirty shirt, bare feet, just staring at me with these dead eyes like I was something he'd been waiting to touch. I couldn't even feel my heartbeat anymore. My whole body went numb. My phone was across the room, no light, no weapon, just me. Then the whispering started again, but closer. He was mouthing words. The sound of them was wrong, broken, like teeth clicking. I still don't know what he was saying. I remember thinking, if I move, he'll lunge. If I don't move, he'll still get me. There was no safe option. I pulled the blanket up just an inch. He saw. His lips stretched into a crooked smile. He started crawling toward the bed, hands and knees. Slow, deliberate. That's when I screamed. Not planned, not brave, just animal terror. I screamed and kicked out with my foot, connecting with something soft. He hissed, an actual hiss, and scuttled back into the closet like a spider. I threw myself at the lamp, flicked it on, blinding light flooding the room. Nothing. Closet wide open, empty. But on the carpet, right where he'd been crouched, was a damp handprint, smudged dirt, long fingers. That's when I knew he wasn't gone. He was hiding, somewhere inside my apartment, waiting for me to slip back into the dark. After the third night, I stopped pretending I could handle it alone. I needed someone else to see it, to hear it, to believe me. I told my roommate Jessa everything, the breathing, the handprint, the whispers. She stared at me for a long time, didn't laugh, didn't ask if I was high. She just said, "Want me to sleep in there tonight?" So she did. We pushed both our bed sheets onto my mattress, and she brought her baseball bat. We kept the light on. We talked until 2 a.m. about stupid things, old crushes, bad tattoos, anything but him. She didn't believe, not really, but she was trying. Nothing happened. No breathing, no whispering. At 3:30 a.m., she said, "Maybe he doesn't like company." We both laughed, that kind of laugh you do when you're scared and pretending not to be. But the next morning, she was pale, quiet. She didn't joke this time. She said she heard footsteps, not inside my room, outside her own. The night before, she stayed with me. Just soft, slow pacing, back and forth, and she never told me until now. That's when we checked the apartment top to bottom. We weren't even sure what we were looking for. Cameras, a loose window, anything. But everything was locked, no signs of forced entry. Then we opened the hallway closet. It looked normal at first, coats, boxes, an old vacuum. But behind the coats, the drywall looked off. Someone had cut a square into it, almost perfectly, and glued it back in place like a flap. We pried it open. Behind it was a crawl space, just wide enough to fit a person. No insulation, dirt floor, and someone had been living in it. Blankets, protein bar wrappers, water bottles, a disposable razor, and a stack of Polaroids of us, sleeping. That was the moment I understood what had been watching me, what had been breathing inches from my face. It wasn't the dark I was afraid of. It was what learned to live in it. Jessa pulled back. "What the hell is that?" I crouched down, heart hammering, and looked inside. The crawl space smelled like damp wood and sweat. I shone my phone light into it, but the beam barely cut through the black. Dust motes floated like they were trying to escape. The further I leaned in, the more I saw. Flattened blankets, empty water bottles, footprints, handprints on the beams. Jessa whispered, "Oh my God, he's been living here." I stepped in, crouched low. The space widened just enough for a grown man to lie flat. Blankets and bottles were shoved against one side, a line of notebooks stacked neatly. In the dim light, I could see scratches on the wall, like someone marking days. He wasn't squatting, he was nesting. This was his den. The Polaroids were the worst, each one dated in marker, weeks, months. Some of me sleeping, some of Jessa brushing her teeth, one of me sitting on the couch eating dinner, taken from the hallway, from inside the apartment. My stomach lurched. My hands shook so badly I dropped the stack, and the photos fanned out across the dirt. Jessa said, "This isn't new. He's been here the whole time." I could see where the crawl space turned, a sharp corner into darkness. The smell was stronger there. I crawled closer, phone light trembling. A shadow shifted. Something moved. Not a rat, not pipes. Breathing. Low, guttural, like an animal cornered. I froze, my head just inches from the bend. He was right there. Less than a foot of drywall between us. Listening, waiting. I backed out slowly, trying not to make noise. Jessa was already on the phone, whispering to the dispatcher. I closed the drywall flap and pressed my back to it. My heart was hammering so hard it hurt. Inside the walls, the breathing stopped. We waited for the police, staring at that flap like it might open at any second. That was the longest 12 minutes of my life, knowing he was on the other side, knowing he'd been there all along. You think the cops showing up will make you feel safe. It doesn't. It makes it real. Jessa was already on the phone. I was still crouched by the crawl space, staring into the dark, trying to hear if he was still in there. 10 minutes later, the cops showed up. They came in pairs, 2 uniforms with flashlights and hands on their holsters. They looked at us like we were spooked kids. We pointed at the crawl space, the Polaroids spread across the living room floor, the cut drywall flap. They crouched, pulled the flap open, shined their beams inside. Dust, footprints, blankets, wrappers. But no man, no breathing, no shadow, just silence. They kept saying words like transient and squatter, like it was something casual, like we'd left the door open and a raccoon wandered in. They searched every inch of the apartment, under the beds, behind the fridge, even the roof access. Nothing. One officer told us to stay somewhere else for a few nights. The other asked if maybe we'd been pranking ourselves, which made Jess's face go pale with rage. I held up one of the Polaroids, me asleep, time-stamped from 2 nights before. My hair was in the same braid I'd worn that night. "Prank this," I said. The officer's expression didn't change. They took the pictures, the notebooks, the wrappers. They left the flap open. They didn't post anyone outside, didn't call for backup. Just told us to be careful and lock up tight. There was no sign of forced entry, they said. No evidence anyone else had a key. Like it was our problem now. After they left, the apartment felt heavier, quiet in a way that's not comforting, like someone holding their breath. Jessa wanted to pack up and go. I just sat on the couch staring at that open hole in the wall, trying to hear anything. All I could think was, he's in here somewhere. He's been in here the whole time. That's the part nobody understands. The police leaving doesn't end it. It starts the longest night of your life. We didn't go back to the apartment right away. A friend let us crash on her couch for 2 nights. Jessa didn't sleep. I didn't even try. We kept telling ourselves it was over. The cops had come, he'd be gone. He was scared off. On Thursday, we went back. In daylight, the apartment felt smaller, less threatening. We fixed the closet, patched the drywall, rehung our coats like nothing had happened. That night, we tried to make it normal, kept every light on, TV playing old sitcoms, door locked, crawl space sealed. For the first time in days, I almost believed we were safe. At 3:17 a.m., I woke up again. No breathing, no whispers, just silence. Worse than sound, because silence lets your mind fill in the blank. I turned on my side. He was there. Not at the end of the bed this time. Kneeling beside me. So close I could see the outline of his teeth. His mouth was open. Not smiling, not snarling, just open, like he was trying to breathe me in. He didn't flinch when I saw him. He didn't move. He just whispered something, a rasp with no breath behind it, and tilted his head like he was listening to my fear. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. He leaned closer. That smell again. Rust, sweat, mold. I could see the corner of one Polaroid sticking from his shirt pocket. My face on it. Then the hallway light flicked on. Footsteps. Jessa. In a blink, he was gone. No sound, no movement. Just gone. She burst into the room, eyes wide. "Did you hear it?" she said. I couldn't speak. I just pointed to the space beside my bed. Still warm. We moved out that weekend. Didn't even pack half our stuff. I never slept in that room again. I don't know where he went. I don't care. I just know what I saw. He wasn't a ghost. He wasn't a dream. He was a man who learned to live in the places we forget to look. It wasn't the dark I was afraid of. It was what learned to live in it.
So tell me, what would terrify you more? A shadow that follows you, or a man who learns to live inside your walls? Come back by the fire next time, if you dare. I have many more stories waiting for you.